when you start, how do you get into the process of, concrete's not really the type of material that you can just sort of like play around with too much, you know what I mean? It's quite, you pour it, it sets, and then that's it. So how did the start, did you how did you given the opportunity to improve on your skill set? Like, is it just about doing sort of smaller aspects and then learning and then going bigger and bigger over time, or?
Yeah. So we, like I said before, that main house, I basically took a couple of years, not fully off, but I didn't work, probably worked 30% of the time, and I was just running experiments, basically, just doing all sorts of things. From moulds to tweaking the concrete mix designs to everything. We had this great guy called Kevin McChesney from Stevenson's, who's retired now, but he was fantastic. He was a key driver in helping me develop the whole, how we were going to put the concrete in the mould, basically. And like I said, he's one of those guys who, one of my sort of support crew who I could call on, but he was outstanding. And we just did a lot of testing like that sort of thing. And then when we did put it into big moulds and things, we were still developing systems, and this mould would be better than that, but not that you could see it. It was just more of not the end result, but it was the application, the time, the trucks, the retarders you might put in the concrete, or we putting the chemicals in on site rather. It was just all developing the best processes that were easy and sort of solved a lot of issues on site and took stress out of on site. So it was just a lot of that sort of really thinking about it, how we're going to do it, and economically as well, because it's all very well to pour these things and make these things, but they've got to be economical, or else you're not going to build another one, because the clients are going to go, shit, this costs too much, So we've got it really down, that was bloody a long time ago, so we've got it down pat now, to the extent that, we can build concrete mid-floor, concrete walled apartments and houses a hell of a lot cheaper than timber houses now. It's
really,
it's no question.
So what are the unit economics around that? Like, what's the cost these days if you wanted to build a full concrete house versus doing it the more traditional way now? What are the cost differences on that at the moment?
Well, for instance, we're doing a development ourselves, 7-unit development next year, and that'll all be concrete mid-floor walls, some exposed walls and that sort of thing. It's just when we, and you don't have to put, a lining on the formwork to create a visual effect on the concrete. You can plaster it or whatever. But, a lot of the walls inside, we'll even do the internal walls out of concrete.
Wow.
But we'll just skim them with a plaster and things like this where we don't need to. And the external ones or internal ones that are visual and we want to make a statement on, we'll line those with timber or ply, or we've got all sorts of things. We can line them with wallpaper or all sorts of things, and you get the embossed finish on them and things like that. And then just the mid-floors, tray deck, poured, and the engineers love you. There's structurally, they're sound. You put them on the market. What better house to have it than a concrete house? And then, when you stand a wall up and you create all the openings and things with concrete, there's no flashings. There's so much less you've got to do. You can get your scaffold down, so much quicker. All sorts of things like this. So, and then also when we insulate the walls, we encase insulation within the concrete as well. So you pour it, with the insulation in, so it's one pour. So and it's a solid, non-thermally broken wall. So if you put up a timber framed wall and you insulate it, when you think about it, if it's 10 meters long, you've got about a meter or a meter and a half of studs, so it's not insulated for a meter and a half.
Yeah.
So whereas if you do a concrete wall, the whole thing is insulated. So there's a lot of benefits to it, and it goes up really quick. With the formwork we use, and anyone can use. There's companies out there who right throughout New Zealand who will, and overseas who will hire you formwork. But we own all our own formwork and things like this, and so we can put that up. But if anyone is wanting to do their own, you've got great formwork companies out there. I won't mention them. You can look them up. But they'll all come up with designs of how to place it and what systems you use, tie rods, and how you tie it all together so you don't get a blowout or anything like that.
Yeah.
But like I say, in that concrete industry, everyone's really helpful. So. That they'll assist you as you go along.
A lot of the builders that I talk to, one of the biggest stressful days for them is when they're doing the concrete pour for the slab. Gets them really stressed out, and that's very simple. When you're doing your concrete pours for a big spiral staircase or some really big in situ wall, how you get stressed out, or you're a calm man?
No, well, people don't see me because I'm sleeping. But the night before is pretty stressful. But but the same, it all comes back to it. I really plan it out. How and I work out the loadings and all this sort of thing, where they are. When we're doing 2 helical staircases at the moment, which are both in construction and. But they're difficult to work out the loadings on those, because you can imagine the twisting, and one of them's freestanding, so it's like a spring, it wants to come down. So they're difficult. So I kind of got to use a bit of feel on those ones about how we will actually hold it together. But again, I've got great formwork for that. So I've brought in specific curve, formwork that we can curve and actually hold the barrel, all sorts of things. And then we've got a great designer who designs all my formwork, sort of the undersides of it and all this. So it all locks together like a big jigsaw puzzle underneath. And then we get all that computer cut. We use computers all the time now to cut our gear. So much easier. And then we lay them up and all this sort of thing at my factory. And we delivered one a couple of weeks ago down to Whangamata, actually. So the boys down there are putting all the Rio in now. So it is quite stressful when you actually go to pour it. But I try and take all that myself. I try and take it away from the other guys. The builders on sites, you can tell they're just shitting themselves. But and I'm sort of bluffing a little bit. But yeah, I'm a bit stressed. The first helical I ever did, I was very stressed. But I thought I had all my ducks in a row. But when you think about it, if that first one had gone wrong, I was probably $300,000 or $400,000 in the hole if it went wrong. So we had all sorts of safety features on there, to bribing the local. There was a roadworks locally, so I bribed the guys on the stop goes with beers the day before. And I said, look, if you see a concrete truck coming down the road, just let it, turn it to green, let them through. To putting, we had straps around the outside of the formwork, which I'd cut and I'd fiberglassed in certain places. So if the formwork moved, it broke the fiberglass. So it was all sorts of little tricks there. But it is stressful, and you've got to be careful. So, I assist a hell of a lot of builders all around the country and overseas. And my first thing to them is like, especially if they haven't done it before, it's like, I'll take the stress off you, like just let me figure out the best way we can build this together, because most of the time they'll build it and I'll just supervise them, and sometimes I'll send a guy to give them a hand or whatever, but most of the time it's just all over the internet, or I'll fly in, I'll drive there or wherever it is, and we'll have a look. But I'm just sort of the insurance policy for them, just to help them out, and just ease that pressure a little bit, like for instance this Whangamata helical, Jared hasn't done one before. Don't imagine he would have. He probably won't do another one, but because we've done them before, we can give him a little bit of a heads up in areas, and they're working really well. It's just, and they're always ringing you for advice and that sort of thing. But it's easy to answer a phone call and have a problem later.
Yeah, for sure. It seems like sometimes, especially those complicated ones, it's a bit of like an orchestra. You're directing the orchestra. What's happening? Is it what sort of I guess any advice for builders out there in terms of like how they should set up the team and everything, and when they doing a complicated pour?
Yeah. Well, the key thing is, you've got to. It always comes back to economics. So you've got to make sure, you when you say you're tackling a tricky walled area, get out of helicals for a while there, but they're out. But if we do like normal walls and things, so okay, you have everything set out. Listen to the advice, you get it all marked out and that sort of thing, and then you dedicate the team to building that wall. In the process of the whole build. So let's get these walls out of the way first, and then everyone's involved in that. So people aren't mucking around. So when you've got all the shuttering there, it's on hire every day. Just use it, get it done, get it out of the way. The worst ones I see is when the shuttering's sitting there and the guys are working over doing something else, a little deck area. It's like, this stuff's costing money. Let's get this done. So it's just a matter of working the best systems there, and then getting everyone involved in the process. So, okay, we're going to create this. It's because a lot of builders think, we're just doing concrete work. It's going to be rough, but it's not. You've got to really involve them and sort of say, look, when we strip this wall, it's going to be a bit of land art. So have some real pride in it. Like when you come in here, you don't have. And you're mucking around with the linings on the formwork or whatever, make sure your hands are clean. You're not dragging rust or that sort of thing, and you're not dragging a Red Bull or something in here and resting it here, which will stain the concrete and things like that. So everyone's got to be on board with that sort of thing, right down to when you're ordering the concrete. You're talking to the batching plant guys and the pumper, going, hey, look, we're pouring this wall. It's taken us 3 or 4 weeks to build. We really want to make it good. Can we book concrete for this day? And they go, yeah, okay, but you haven't got another 120 cube going to another job that morning, and we're after them, have you? No. Just sort of making sure that everyone's on board and they understand the importance of the pour and the end result that they all want. Because concrete's it's obviously the biggest product in the construction industry. So everyone wants to have it working really well on a site, and to have the end result and relieved, and the clients turn up, and or it might be the builder's house, and you're just like, shit, yeah, we did that. It really is a big moment when we do that. Like we stripped a wall this morning, and or it was a big curved column actually, and it came out absolutely mint, and the clients there are just buzzing, So it's always a great feeling when that happens, But everyone's got to be on board. Yeah.
Are you a builder, or are you an engineer, or are you like an artist?
No, definitely a builder. I've been building. I started with my uncle when I was about 11, and in the holidays, and he taught me to back a trailer when I was about 13, and then I worked with him for a couple of years and did my apprenticeship. So, yeah, I'm a little bit of an engineer with no degree. Not recently, but last 7 or 8 years. But before that, I was going to all sorts of conferences, and I'd sit in on these engineering lectures, and 90% of it would go over my head, not really understanding. But I was able to figure out, where I could ask questions and where I could, push what I was doing. So it's been really helpful, and I spend a lot of time in lectures and things like that and speaking. Yeah.